Welcome to Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad. Join Reiki Master and Quantum Healing expert Wes Coons as he guides listeners through the depths of self-discovery and spiritual enlightenment to uncover the version of you we haven't met yet. And welcome back to Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad. And you know, Wes, we were talking about season 2 was going to be filled with a lot of incredible things, and we have some very special stuff going on today. But before we get into that, what do you want to say? You want to give a shout out to our listeners?
Andrea, thank you so much for being here. You know, we picked up the United Kingdom today, so thank you. We've got another beautiful country following us. The podcast is going really, really well. And you know what? We have the best listeners ever. We've got people reaching out all the time. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And if you want to talk to us, find us on Instagram at VB Healer. Ask us any questions. We'll give you a straight answer.
Yes, send in those questions. You know we love to answer questions in the behind the scenes episodes and do special Q&As, so send them in. So Wes, we said when we started season 2 that we were going to have a lot of surprises, special guests, and that's what we're doing here today. We have a very special guest with us. I'll let you introduce her.
Well, Andrea, we did. And so what we're starting to get into is inviting some of the healers on the show. My friend Margaret is here. She lives here half the time in Virginia Beach and half the time in Egypt. She's an incredible healer. I learned my quantum courses through her. And I met Margaret probably about a year after the haunted house. So Margaret, thank you. Welcome to the show.
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so happy just to share about what we do, how we got into it, and the benefits of it, and how we met, actually, as well. There's quite a story about how we met.
Yeah, it's fun. Why don't you tell that story?
So a friend of Wes's brought him into the shop that I see people out of, Spiritual Relics. And he comes in and we get talking, and he's telling me that his teacher, Sandra Grace, who you've all heard of, was his teacher, and that Kim Sear was her teacher. Well, Kim Sear was my teacher. So not only was that connection being made, but then he brings in this book, Energetic Transformation by Kathy Sinnott. And she was my teacher as well, not through the book, in person. So as you can see, all the connections start to be made. The divine starts bringing everybody into your life that you need at that time for different reasons, through different ways. So that's how we met, and we've been fast and furious friends ever since.
Yeah, it's been really fun. I remember when we went through the quantum course, you were teaching me how to use the Metatron cube.
Yes.
And the energy was so powerful. I was bent over the table. She's like, "Are you throwing up?" I couldn't stand up straight. So it's been an interesting journey. So Margaret, you know, this show is about enlightenment. It's about, you know, looking at life differently. You know, of course, this starts with a haunted house, and a lot of people find that entertaining. You know, I didn't find it entertaining. It was quite painful for me, and not everybody's going to go through that. The question I have is, as some people have gifts turning on, I mean, for example, talking to dead people, seeing in other realms, things of that nature, how does somebody safely manage that? Because so many people turn to drugs and alcohol because they think they're losing their mind. You go to the doctor and they're like, "Oh, you're hearing voices, let me medicate you." And of course the doctor is important, but sometimes it's not that. How do you manage that? I mean, what do you recommend to people?
Well, of course, you're not crazy. Those things are very real. Meditation, let's do some energetic clearing. There are many different forms of energetic clearing to work with. Reiki, quantum, theta healing, so many different avenues. But as a child, I saw dead people. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't really scared, but I didn't know what to do about it. And my parents never told me that there weren't dead people. They didn't never say be afraid. And so by the time I was 10 or 11, I couldn't find any information on it. I had nobody to talk to, and it was getting worse and worse and worse. And I was like, okay. So then I, at the young age of 10, started smoking. And by the time I was 12, I was drinking and doing drugs because I could not deal with it. And I didn't have anyone to help me. So that followed me through my life. And then I started hearing about meditation, and I heard about Reiki, and I was like, oh, yes, I know I want to be a healer. And not only that, my whole life without me knowing, every job I've ever done, and even when I was young, started with some sort of medical training. My stepfather was a pharmacy, studying to be a pharmacist. And at 8 years old, I was reading his pharmacology books. And my great aunt was the first female osteopathic physician. And she worked on me. She taught me about body alignment when I was young, from the age of 10 to 13 probably. So that also began that quest for knowledge about the medical field and all of that. And my jobs just wound up being that, God preparing me. Then I found out about Reiki. I moved to New York and knew I was in the place where I could take all these classes. I moved to New York the end of October in 2005. January 2006, I was in my first Reiki class. And by the end of the year, I was in my quantum classes as well. I was taking both.
Nice. I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's cool. So what if somebody lives, let's say in Kentucky, or, we've got people in the United Kingdom and Poland and stuff like that, and they needed help? You do long distance healing at a very high level, don't you?
Yes, I do. A lot of my work is distance healing. I have so many clients: California, Florida, Iowa, Missouri, Minnesota, England. And so it's just expanding out. So I do things via Zoom, and then I work on people while they're sleeping. Because
Nice.
then I strictly have the subconscious, the energy of the subconscious I'm working with. And then there's no human resistance like, oh, I'm feeling that. Oh, that's really cool. What am I seeing? And the body constricts. So when you work with the subconscious while they're sleeping, the energy flows. This is why when you see people in person and you got them on your table, they fall asleep. Guides put them to sleep so the energy can flow.
Okay. So for somebody who is new, how can you explain? Because I remember when they started talking about long distance healing and I heard that the first time, I'm like, how the fuck does that even remotely work? That just doesn't even make sense to me. So how does that work?
Well, in the quantum field, there is no time, no space. And they've proven that with quantum physics. They've taken a piece of DNA, split it, and they manipulated one piece, and at the exact same moment, the other piece was reacting the same way. Then they split the DNA even further, 5 miles, 500 miles, 1,000 miles. And the very instant they manipulated one piece of that DNA, the other one was reacting. So they proved there's no time, no space in between. It's all consciousness. So I can be in Egypt and work on people in California. I could be here in Virginia Beach and working on people in England. It doesn't matter. I could be sitting in my house and work on someone that's across the street.
Sure. Well, I know I clear houses for people all over the world, and usually by the time they finish telling me about the house, it's already clear.
Yes, it's really fast, especially if you have a great cleanup team.
Yeah, my dragons are fun. I just send them. So if somebody wanted to connect with you, and by the way, you're doing Egypt trips, correct?
Yes, I'm running my first Egypt retreat. We're going to, it's 10 days, pyramids on the Giza Plateau, Hathor Temple, Osiris Temple, 2 different Isis temples, a cruise on the Nile, a hot air balloon ride, the Coptic church where Mary and Jesus and Joseph hid.
Nice.
There's another church there as well that they had spent some time in. So doing that. Also working with the person, people attending individually to help to anchor in divine feminine and divine masculine, because everyone's focused on the feminine. They're forgetting about the masculine, and we cannot go through this ascension process and shift without the masculine.
Yeah, don't forget about us, guys.
Yeah. So bringing that energy in and anchoring it in, and also we're going to do planetary work to help to do that as well. But I was called to go to Egypt 5 years ago, and I was like, no, I can do whatever I need to do in Egypt from here. And God said, nope, get a passport. Nope, not get a passport. Get a passport. Still I'm saying no, and all of a sudden God dangled a carrot in front of me, which he knew I probably couldn't resist, by the name of my boyfriend Ahmed. So yes, I went to Egypt, and the moment I got off the plane, it was, there's not even words. And the first time I got on the Nile, we went on a short Nile cruise, and I'm on I'm on the water, and all of a sudden the boats are being beside me, and they're rowing, and I'm on this huge boat as the queen going down the Nile, and then all of these other past lives started just appearing, and then I said, "Oh, you really wanted me here." And the thing is also about the divine masculine. When we came through the veil, the veil was hijacked with the patriarchal programming and dropped us into 3D. It happened in Africa. So it's not necessarily about me being in Egypt, it's about me being on the continent of Africa. So having to be there. So if I'm going to work to help free the planet of that energy and to move us through something out into something else and something better, I had to go back to where it began. So that's why I'm in Egypt. And this is also why they're telling me to run these retreats, because the divine masculine is anchored in Egypt, in the Nile. It's anchored in there on February 22nd, 2020. And now it's about disseminating, emitting, moving that energy throughout the planet. So the trip is about all of that, helping people go through their own healing, their own past life memories, whatever that looks like for them. And also we will be doing work to help the planet as well.
That's a lot.
It is a lot, but that's what I do. I don't, go big or go home. So
Hey, if you're listening to the show and you don't know half the shit she was talking about, that makes two of us. So I just go to Margaret because she's my mentor, she's my friend, I trust her. And if people wanted to work with you, how do they connect with you?
Well, my website is seekthelightwithin.com. All the information about the retreat is there. I'm on Facebook under Margaret Bryant Energy Oracle. I'm also on Instagram under the same name. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter under something, I can't remember. I'm also on Facebook under Seek the Light Within, and also my personal page is Margaret Holobeck Bryant. So, I just do everything to share positive things. The thing about healing is everything begins with a thought. Some sort of thought or belief system, something you were told, even if you don't believe it, even if you just heard it. So it goes into the mental body. It's a thought. And then energy gets sent to it, and then it moves into the emotional body. And energy sent, and then it moves into the physical body. It goes to the appropriate chakra for that type of thought process. And then from the chakra, it goes to the organ that's connected to that chakra that holds that kind of thought.
Yeah.
So all the different thoughts are held in different places in the body, but they're always held in the same places. So, for instance, kidney stones, troubles with the kidneys are always anger and frustration of past romantic relationships, unshed tears of past romantic relationships. So this is also why mostly men get kidney stones, because women will cry it out.
I did not know that.
Most men won't. So the kidneys, so you've got all these thoughts and stuff that goes to the kidneys, and then the kidneys are attached to the sacral chakra, which has to do with all of creation and love and all that, not just the heart. And so then you've got to go in and clean out the bladder, you've got to clean out the kidneys, and you've got to clear out the energy feeding that thought process. Once you remove the energy with the quantum healing to the thought process, then the healing can happen, because there's nothing holding it there. The thought just becomes data. Just data. It's an app in your phone you no longer use.
I love when Margaret talks. She's so intelligent. She is so gifted. She understands this work at such a high level. I just think it's beautiful. And if you've not had a chance to work with Margaret or meet Margaret, it is a delight. I just love to listen to you talk. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm looking at Andrea. I'm like, what is she talking about?
Thank you for that. But when I have an audience, I am programmed to give as much information and to bring forth a vibration frequency that healing already begins to happen. So when people just listen to me talk, there's healing that happens. I did podcasts for 5.5 years where I was the only person on there. I didn't have a co-host, and my guides would give me a topic. We would discuss it, and then I would do a meditation regarding that every week for 5.5 years. Sometimes I did 2 or 3 shows a week.
Nice. So you had said something at the beginning, and let me try to, you said everything basically starts with a thought process, right? Isn't that
Yes.
what you said? So, I was doing some work on myself not too long ago, and there was this instance when I was like 6 or 7 years old. I was on a school bus, and I was getting ready to get off, and I had this, I don't know, this toy Jeep. And I don't know why I've never forgot it, but the two boys ended up taking the toy Jeep. And I got off the bus, and it's just kind of resonated there. So somebody was working with me on that a few weeks back, and so we kind of dove into a little bit deeper. And what I came to the realization was that moment in time changed the trajectory of my life forever. Because when they took that Jeep, and I didn't have the voice to say, hey, give me the toy back, or go to the bus driver, or go say something to my dad that was in the front yard right there by the bus, that cemented something in me that didn't give me a voice to ask for things or stand up for myself. So we kind of went in there and did some work and healed that little boy right there. And it was the first time ever that as I healed that little boy, the thought of going and being on the football team, being on the baseball team, going to college and doing these things, those never really were my mindset before because of that little shift. It was something teeny tiny.
Yeah.
And I was shocked on how much that affected me. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't this huge, you got beat up and locked in a cabin, for 6 days type deal.
No, it's something so little. A lot of people go through fear of being in romantic relationships. They really they want to be in love and they want all of this, but they were hurt before. So they hold back a part of themselves. So then they're not fully open to that love. So one, they're afraid to love. They're afraid to be loved, which keeps them stuck. And then people are saying, I can't get a relationship. What's happening?
Mm-hmm.
They just got themselves stuck by those two thoughts.
Yeah.
Or this is another big one. People have fear of being controlled. They don't want to be controlled, but they also have a fear of not being in control, which keeps them stuck in the middle. So you go in and you remove the energy feeding those two fears, those two thoughts, and then boom, they shift, they move immediately. So this is how your thoughts and beliefs, or even something you are told as a child, the kid that's told, you're stupid, you're no good, you're no good. Even though that kid deep inside knows that they are worthy and they're really good and they're good at everything, they eventually then begin to get sick and they begin to not perform and they turn into the small self and they hide,
Mm-hmm.
even though they knew the difference.
Yeah. Well, I watch people crippled with stuff all the time. And, I seen this meme on Facebook the other day, and it says something along the lines of, the day that you realize the cage that you're in, you placed yourself in, you'll be free. And that's so real.
It's the absolute truth.
Yeah. I mean, I've gone to Margaret. One of the things that she's done for me and she could do is, I wanted the feeling of unworthiness to be removed. Remember that? Mm-hmm. You did that session? And I went there and she did this session and we had somebody special help with that session. Do you remember that?
Oh, Jesus comes in awful lot in my sessions, or Mother
Mm-hmm.
Mary. Isis will come in. I work very, very closely with all of them. So whoever is needed, I don't ask specifically for them to come. Whoever is needed for who's on the table, that's who will come in.
Yeah. And I remember when that energy got pulled out of my chest, in the military, we had this big heavy duty rope mops. It felt like one of those that was soaking wet was pulled out of my chest. And it was just bizarre, because I have not been able to connect with the feeling of unworthiness. Now, I'm not going to chase it down because I don't want to call it back in. But if you're suffering from something like that, Margaret can pull that out of you. It's really cool.
I had a little boy, grandfather brought his grandson in, and I was working on him, and they have a deep faith in God and Jesus. And when I was working up on, let's say, his shoulder area, he felt something touching his feet. He felt hands on his feet. And then when I went and sat down and was just sending energy to him, he said, Miss Margaret, they're touching my feet again. And I said, honey, it's Jesus. He's standing right there. And he started to cry.
Yeah.
He knew it. He felt it. He knew it. And those are the things that happen in these healings all the time. And they can be instantaneous, or they could take a week or so. Usually it's pretty quick. Usually it's instantaneous. But in reality, there isn't anything that can't be healed. And I know that you could get in trouble for saying that, but actually God put on the planet a herb or a flower, a plant, to heal everything in the body.
Wow.
Everything. So by eating the right food, taking herbs and things like that, you can heal, and also by using the energy. I've had cancer removed from clients. I've had bones heal, backs heal, taking spines out and fixing, replacing the discs in them and things of that nature. So there really isn't anything, and as long as you get out of your own way, I don't know what's best for me. I don't know what's best for my client. I know the divine knows, and I am very good at getting out of the way and just letting the divine work through me.
Yeah. Well, I came to, I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago, and you did some work on me. What are energetic parasites? Can you explain that?
Energetic parasites, they look like eels. 85% of the population has them. They don't know it. They are typically 95% of the time not harmful, not negative. They're energy suckers. And they come in all shapes and sizes and colors, and they just move about the body and suck your energy. So we go in and we clear those out. They can come as what I call like swimmers, the little minnows, or I've seen some that are 12 feet long, coiled up in the person. I've actually had clients on the table, and you're pulling it, and they'll say, where are you feeling now? They can feel it moving in them as you're trying to remove it, or it's trying to hide and get away.
Yeah.
So once you remove these energetic parasites, then the people's energy is automatically boosted. So this is one of the very first things that we do, is look to see if anybody has them. 95% of the time they're just neutral. They don't know they're harming you. They have no idea whatsoever. They're just in there feeding off energy. Now the 5%...
Yeah, they do have that, don't they?
Yeah, that 5%, they'll fight you. And you got to work a little harder to get them out, but you can get them out. I'm bigger. I'm bigger than you.
Yeah. Well, when I started doing that, I would always break their neck and pull them out. Then one day you're like, well, maybe you consider just pulling them out with unconditional love. I'm like, fuck that. I'm going to break their fucking neck and pull them out. You fuck around with me. And I'm like, and the funny thing is, because I was so angry from what the experience of the house and everything, and, there was fear behind that. And when I really started to think about that, because people tell me all the time, you don't hear me, you don't listen. I do. It just takes a moment to process. Now Andrea listens to everything we tell her instantly. Don't you, Andrea?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. She's not hard-headed at all. But when I started to pull those things out, and I did it with unconditional love. I would say the Ho'oponopono prayer, thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me. That's my prayer. You're saying it to yourself. As that heals me and raises my vibration, I go into the vibration of unconditional love, right, Margaret?
Yes, absolutely.
And they would just like go limp in my hand, and you could pull them out. Now, every once in a while, they get a little shitty, and I just still snap their neck, but that's just me.
Well, it's pretty easy to do after what you've been in, and of course you're a Marine that was trained. But I will tell you, you put anything like that in front of me, or a demon in front of me, or anything like that, then I am that Marine. And I am fearless. You can't have any fear. I am fearless, and as you can hear my voice changing, I get very angry. And I get angry because it hurts me when people are hurt against their will and without them knowing. When that happens, then I'm ready to go in. I'm going to kick ass. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm not going to allow that to happen on my watch. So it's important for me to clear people of all of that. And when people come to me and they might have something like that, I'm not only going to go in and remove that, but I want to remove and work on their human and their body. What caused the leak in the energetic system that allowed it to come in? So what was going on in your energy immune system or even the physical body when this started? And then when you go back and you can go back and heal those things and pull those thoughts out, then now they've got the strength that they don't need all this protection. They don't need something, so they can do this for themselves. So if you can go and heal the body, heal the human, heal the emotions and all of that, then all of that stuff can't get back in again.
Yeah. It's interesting. I see people come in for healing sessions all the time and doing the quantum work, and it just changes people. It changes things. There's energies out there that we can't see, that we don't understand. You don't have to understand it. But once it's removed, it allows you to become the person you're supposed to be, allows you to become authentic, allows your body to heal. When Margaret worked on me a few weeks ago, I'd had this concussion from go-karting, of all things. This young lady hit me from behind at full speed. I was stopped. I mean, it was bad. I am just now coming out of that, and I couldn't drive for 2 weeks. And that lowered my immune system and stuff, and I picked up a couple energetic parasites. It was messing with me at a very high level mentally. It was taking me down this rabbit hole of darkness. And I went to see Margaret, and, well, I didn't even go see her. Didn't you do that long distance?
Yeah, I did that. That was in Egypt before I came home.
Yeah, and so I had two energetic parasites in me, and within 5 minutes of her removing those, all the dark thoughts were gone, because I knew the dark thoughts weren't mine. It's amazing how something like that can change your life for good or for bad if it's not taken out.
Absolutely.
I mean, we see miracles all the time.
It causes physical problems, emotional problems. It causes problems within your family. It causes financial difficulties. You can't even begin to imagine the turmoil that it can cause. And you see a lot of it with people that are heavy users of alcohol and drugs, addicts, those kinds of things, because their immune system, their own belief system about themselves is lowered, and then these things just kind of get in. But understand, there's all that negative stuff out there too, but there's all the wonderful stuff as well.
Yeah, there's beautiful things. Everything's not bad. Everything's not, I'm reminded all the time, Sandra Grace would say all the time, just because you see something in your hallway doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah.
I'm like, every night I remind myself as I see movement in the hallway. I see movement in hallways everywhere. I don't know why hallways are a big thing for me, but I do. Freaks me out.
Yeah, well, you should see what I see on a daily all day long.
So there's that, yeah.
Yeah, it was actually really overwhelming when I went to Egypt too, because Egypt is so old and ancient, where civilization began on Africa. So there's more people that have died there, and there's a lot of dark magic that's used in Africa and also in Egypt and in other countries as well. So the first time I went, and I've got my, what I call like blinders on. I don't want to see you guys. Just leave me alone. I'm doing my thing. We go out, we go have coffee, and we get to the coffee shop. And as soon as I sit down and go, man, there was like 400 or 500 of them all over the place in front of me. And I'm rubbing my hands, which is my sign that it's that kind of energy around. And my boyfriend's going, they're all here, right? And I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah. And he says, we'll make them go away. And I said, well, give me a minute. I can't make them go away, but I can get them far enough out of my field so that they don't agitate me. And also I can turn my sight down so that I'm not seeing them as much.
Yeah.
It takes practice.
It does. My friends, we go out to dinner or whatever, and they don't even pay attention to me anymore. It's funny. I'll start putting up I'll start waving my hand and pushing things back, and they're just like, it's normal stuff. We're just putting up a barrier and pushing things back so we can sit there and be comfortable. So it makes for an interesting dinner, that's for sure. So Andrea, did you have any questions?
I do have one question. I thought it was really interesting that you were talking about rubbing your hands together. Mm-hmm. And Wes, I always comment when you do that, like you'll be talking on the phone with Wes and you'll hear him rubbing his hands together. So what exactly is happening?
Well, you're starting to feel lower level energies. It can start, so if you're just opening up and you start feeling that, it can be angels, it can be anything, because you're just starting to feel a different vibration than your own. But then as you get your vibration raised, this is a sign. These are lower frequencies, not necessarily demonic, but this is more like disincarnate beings, people that have died and are stuck here, didn't go to the light for whatever reason. So that kind of energy makes my body do this, and all of a sudden my hands will do this. This is how my body can deal with it, so that it's not really affecting me. So I'll start rubbing my hands together real fast. I'll start shaking my leg. Then my whole body starts going in, and then I'm like, no, I'm not doing this today. Okay? If you need to go to the light, Michael will come in, Archangel Michael will come in, and we'll get him to help you, but I'm not doing that today. So then I just push it out, and which is something that just happened right here. We had an energetic intrusion, and I just pushed it out. It was close enough I could feel it up my back.
Yeah. So there's that. There's that.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah. That's also because I, coming into this space to do this, I opened up to the divine, so I have my protection up, but it also sends out this big beacon of light. Hey, look at these 3 healers and these light workers in here. Whoa, I'm going to the house. And so, they might be 30 feet back, 30 miles back there, but they're close enough that it's ticking my protection ring, so I just pushed it back, that's all.
Yeah. Well, Margaret, I love you.
I love you too.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. And Andrea, we've got some pretty cool stuff coming up this season. This season is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to be, if you liked season 1, you're in for a real treat for season 2. And Margaret, I could listen to you all day. I love hearing you talk. It was fascinating. I felt like time just went by so fast because I was just drawn to every word you were saying. But before we go, will you please tell listeners one more time your website and how they can get a hold of you?
Yes. My website is seekthelightwithin.com, just spelled just how it sounds. You can find me on Facebook under the same thing. Also, Margaret Bryant Energy Oracle. I'm also on Instagram under Margaret Bryant Energy Oracle, and my personal Facebook page is Margaret Holobeck Bryant. So those are the 3 ways. I'm Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm on all of them. So.
Or you could just reach out to me and I'll connect the dots.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm very, very happy to have had this opportunity. I love to speak about what we do, especially for people that want to listen and want to learn. It's very important that we get the message out there.
Well, we're doing God's work. That's what that is.
Yep.
I mean, that's who's doing the work, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, one of the things Andrea and I are going to be on, we've got several podcasts that are going to interview us, and they want to talk about our show. So we're going to let you know when that's coming on board, so you can listen to their show and listen to us and kind of cross back and forth and share energy and promote each other. So we're seriously looking forward to that. That's going to be fun. If you like the show, do us a favor. Go on your app and give us a 5-star review. It helps us do the things that we need to do. We appreciate you, and we're going to see you real soon.
And I'm happy you're out of the House of Horrors.
Yes, I'm glad I'm out of that house too. So, Margaret, I love you. I'll see you soon.
Yes.
And everybody, we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Enlightenment Unknown with Wes Coons, your guide on the quest for self-discovery and the version of you we haven't met yet.